Well, welcome everyone. This is Diane Jordan. I am one of the MIT Sloan Admissions members. I am joined this evening because it's this evening here in a very brisk New England. We officially are in what is the New England fall season, and it's been a beautiful weather for us, a little on the cool side, but wonderful. I am joined by a couple of my admissions colleagues, Kayon Ellis, who's going to be part of the presentation this evening, as well as Rich Landry, who's going to help with some of your questions. We are so excited to be able to talk to you tonight about early career programs that are available to you at MIT Sloan. I want to just also thank everyone who has submitted questions in advance. Our plan is to cover a lot of background information on all of the early career programs and to hopefully incorporate a lot of the questions that you had and sent to us. If we do not get to all of your questions either during the webinar, you are actually more than welcome to submit them through the chat function, and we'll try to respond to as many of them as we can as possible. But also just want to encourage you to email us at any time. We are definitely available to answer any of your questions by email as well. So thank you again. I'm super excited to talk to you about our programs. But before I get into that, something that of course is on all of our minds and has impacted all of us is the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic. And I have to say that I am particularly proud to be a member of MIT and MIT Sloan in these times. MIT really took very swift and measured action as it relates to ensuring that our students who wanted to come back to campus were able to do that safely. And so we have welcomed students across programs back this fall. We have very, very strict and measured protocols that are in place, again, to ensure that students feel safe in the environment. But we are also offering a mix. So we have in-person classes, we have remote classes or virtual classes, we have high flex, which is a little bit of asynchronous and synchronous, as well as remote and in-person. But these are just some symbols of the protocols that we have put into place and that we feel are really important. And philosophically, we expect our students to adhere to as well. So wearing a mask, watching your distance, social distancing, as we've all heard about, washing your hands regularly, and really watching your health. So I think these are important things to tell you about right now. We don't know what next year will look like. This is an evolving situation. We are cautiously optimistic that by next time you are all planning to enroll in one of our programs, that the campus will look a lot more like a normal campus for all of us. But I want to tell you that, you know, MIT has really put a great deal of effort into ensuring the safety of our students who have decided to actually come back to campus in person for classes. So let's talk about our mission. One of the things that MIT Sloan feels very strongly about, and this really resonates particularly in this challenging time that we're all experiencing, is that we are looking to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and who generate ideas that advance management practice. And that takes lots of different forms when you're on our campus and participating in one of our programs. And we'll talk a lot about that, but again, I want to make sure that I have time to cover each of the programs and that we can get to some of your questions and particularly help you to understand how the admissions or the application and admissions processes work for each of the programs. So when we think about MIT and MIT Sloan, one of the real key benefits and advantages of coming to one of our programs at Sloan is that you are part of a portfolio of programs. We are addressing educational needs at various levels of your development, if you will. So if you look at the ones that are highlighted here, the MBA Early Admissions for students who want to now secure a seat in the two-year MBA program 2 to 5 years down the road. Then we have our 2 specialized master's programs, business analytics or data science, and our master of finance programs. But in addition, as part of being at MIT Sloan, you will have many opportunities, whether it's taking courses, whether it's engaging in activities like clubs, competitions, to interact with students who are coming from some of our other programs. So for example, our executive MBAs, we have an accelerated 1-year Sloan Fellows, and we have an executive MBA level program for C-suite executives. They have on average 14 plus years of prior work experience. So that is a real benefit in the sense that this is another network for you and another layer or level of learning that you can experience as part of coming to MIT Sloan. Additionally, all of our students have the opportunity to take a certificate if they choose to. It's not required, but we offer certificates in either healthcare, sustainability, and analytics. You might also ask, okay, there's lots of activities. Let's talk a little bit about them. What are those? So I mentioned clubs. This is just a sampling of some of the clubs, forums, and events. We have over 60 student clubs on campus. And I can tell you from my experiences and interactions with our students across programs that these clubs become a very integral and important part of their experience. It's really a great opportunity to, again, network with others, to get to learn about a particular industry or function or field that you might be interested in. So if you take a look at some of these examples, you know, the range is pretty wide, everything from healthcare club to a blockchain club, fintech club, data analytics. We have conferences. The most well-known one, I suppose, is the MIT Sports Analytics Conference, which has really grown over the years and is extremely popular. FinTech conference, when you think about what's happening in the field of finance and the intersection with technology, this has become also a very highlight of some of the things that our students and faculty are working on. And an innovation conference, impact investing. So again, this is just a sampling, but gives you an idea that yes, you're coming for the coursework and that's the academics, but there are also many other activities that you want to ensure you're able to engage in when you're in the program. And you become part of what we refer to lovingly as our MIT Nation. We have 139,000 plus MIT alumni, and you become part of that. 24,000 plus of those are actually MIT Sloan grads. They represent 90 plus countries, 129 plus MIT and MIT Sloan alumni clubs worldwide. So when you put all this together and you think about the numbers of the companies, active companies that our grads are involved in, it's 30,000 plus. That's 4.6 million jobs with a total annual revenue of 2 trillion. So it's a pretty significant and very powerful network that you are going to be a part of. So what do we mean when we talk about Sloan early career programs? There's really 3 programs in primarily. Again, it's the 2 specialized masters, business analytics or data science, and the master of finance, and then the early admission to the 2-year MBA program. And I'm going to, again, go into a little bit more detail on each of these. Almost all of this information, if not all of it actually, is on our website. So please don't feel like if you don't catch all of it now, there's lots of resources, and I encourage you to go to our website to learn more and more details about each of the programs. But business analytics is really a deep dive into data science, as you might expect. It is a 12-month program. This was really, we saw as an opportunity to work in partnership with the Operations Research Center at MIT, which is one of the top PhD level or postdoc level research centers in the world. And it was a way for us to bring together the concept of learning the tools, software tools and optimization tools that one needs to be a data scientist, but also to bring that together with management skills. So what does that mean? Yes, the technical skills are really important, but we also want you to be able to take the learnings or the data that you've been able to analyze and present it in such a way that is meaningful to a potential, whether it's employer, organization, or wherever you might be. So it's more than just teaching you those optimization skills, but it's also what do you do with that data? How does that data get interpreted? And how can that data help your potential employer in terms of their business or development and growth? And the target class size is typically around 60. We expect that'll be the case again for the incoming class next year. This is just a snapshot. It's a class profile. Again, it gives you some sense of the students and their backgrounds and experiences. Early career, simply by the fact that they have about 16 months average work experience. That includes internships. 25 countries represented, so pretty diverse from that standpoint. Average age, again, as you might expect, because they're coming mostly with very little prior full-time work experience. 3.82 average undergraduate, 167 is the average GRE quant score. The GRE is the preferred test for the business analytics program. And then if you look at the undergraduate majors or disciplines, again, as you might expect, they're coming from pretty strong STEM backgrounds, but we also have students who are coming from business and economics, as well as other disciplines. 72% are international, again, very diverse, and 39% women. We're always looking to increase the numbers in the female category. But this is, again, sort of a snapshot and helps you to understand and appreciate sort of the students who have been successful in being admitted to the program. When we talk about the curriculum, and again, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. It is a PhD level. It's STEM designated, as are all our programs. It's a 12-month program. We're going to spend a lot of time, and you're going to spend a lot of time in that fall semester, which is when the program starts, on the required core courses. You need to have the technical skills before you can then jump into what is known as the MBN or Business Analytics Capstone Project. That capstone is really a very important aspect of the program. You will start talking to your capstone sponsor in January, but you will spend 6 to 7 months with that capstone sponsor. And it's really an opportunity, again, to take the tools that you've learned in terms of the technical skills and the optimization tools, and then apply it in a real world setting. And you will work on small project team. Typically it's around 2 students per capstone sponsor. For most of that time, you are also provided an internship as part of that capstone that happens in the summer term or in the summer. And then February to May also includes some electives, as well as some other things that you'll be doing as part of your capstone. Now let's talk about finance. This is an 18-month program. However, we do appreciate that for some applicants or prospective students that the shorter 12-month format is preferable. You can check a box in the application if you feel that that is what you know you want to do at the time you apply. In some cases, students may also be able to accelerate from the 18 to the 12-month after the summer term. That is something you would talk to the program office advisors about, but that is a possibility. The curriculum is fairly flexible. It's a deep dive into quantitative finance. There is an action learning, which similar to the business analytics, that has a capstone, which is pretty much like an action learning situation. We have finance lab. There's actually 3 ways that MFINs can participate in an action learning lab. I'm just going to mention for the purposes here, the finance lab, which takes place in the month of January. And it's an opportunity, again, to work in a small student team with a company sponsor on a real challenge that they're looking for some smart MIT students to solve for them. The other thing I will mention is we do, and this is really true across our programs, we have extensive career resources, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. The other thing I want to mention is we have concentrations in the MFIN program. There are 3. You can only choose one. You do not have to choose one. They are optional. For some students, the concentrations are really helpful because it's a deep dive into a particular function within finance. Maybe they're doing a little bit of a pivot and they want to send a strong signal to a potential employer that they have some deeper skills in whether it's capital markets, corporate finance, or financial engineering. The one thing I do want to say about the Master of Finance program, it is by intent and by design. It is not an MFE or financial engineering program per se. Our faculty, some of whom have actually written the textbooks in modern finance, believe fundamentally that you need to understand the foundations of finance theory and methodology. You need to understand how markets operate, how historically how markets have operated, in addition to the strong quantitative finance skills that one needs today in this complex financial marketplace. And again, a snapshot for the MFIN class. The current class, we typically target about 120 students. They have on average 13 months of work experience. Again, that includes internships. So many of them are coming directly from undergraduate or university degrees. As you can see, in terms of disciplines, it's almost evenly distributed across STEM as well as business, economics. We have students from engineering, computer science, and then a handful from humanities. 27 countries are represented. The average undergraduate GPA is 3.72. And for the MPhil program, we really don't have a preference, GMAT or GRE. And this just gives you an idea in terms of the ranges in the middle 80% of the class. 92% international, so a very strong population there, and 44% women. The timeline for MPhil, very different than it is for business analytics in the sense that there is a summer term. So all students must start the program on July 1st. It's very important. There are no exceptions to that rule. We have fundamental courses around finance theory, financial mathematics, and financial accounting that are taught during the summer term. It's also a great way for students to sort of get acclimated, because for the most part, when you're on campus during that time, there aren't many other students. And particularly because there's such a strong international population who may not have lived in the Boston, Cambridge area, it's a great way, as I said, to just sort of get acclimated and build up some bonding with your classmates. And then you start right in the fall term, go through some required courses. January, as I mentioned, is a great time for students to take advantage of action learning. It is a requirement as part of your program degree. So you can do that by either participating in the finance lab or fin lab, or in other activities, other action learning labs. And then go through the spring semester. You have a summer internship, as well as coming back for a second fall term. And we do have students who work with our career services to identify those summer internship opportunities. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
All right. Thank you, Diane. So we're going to jump into talking about an application process. So we've talked about a specialty master's, which are giving you depth in business analytics and finance. But the MBA Early is an application process that allows you to jump in to the MBA program as a senior in college and secure that seat. So coming into the MBA program, you'll be able to be fully immersed for the 2 years that you're studying with us. You're learning about this professional next step that you're able to take, and there's a breadth and depth to the knowledge that we're teaching you. A lot of folks may join our MBA program looking to take that next step in their career, or to pivot into another industry and really build up the necessary skills there, as well as building up their leadership capacity and their network. Along with the MBA, we also offer our students the ability to pursue a dual degree. So a master's in engineering is our LGO, or Leaders of Global Operations program, as well as DUSP, our Department of Urban Studies, and the ability to also do a master's degree at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. So a lot to do there with our MBA program. The MBA Early Admissions process allows you to secure that seat. So if you know that an MBA is in your 5-year plan, we're allowing college seniors or graduate students that do not have full-time work experience to apply to us and to secure that seat after a 2 to 5 year deferral period. There is no application stress while you're working full-time. You're able to also use this deferral period to stay connected with the admissions office and MIT Sloan and build up that community and build up being a part of the MIT nation, so to speak, that Diane touched on. So just a snapshot of the current MBA class. You're looking at about 430 students on average, and compared to our peers, it's a fairly small class size. That's part of what allows you to be able to connect so well with your peers and to really start relationships once you're here on campus. Our MBA students are normally joining us after about 5 years of work experience, so the average age is going to look pretty similar to that, as well as the current undergraduate GPA being around 3.4 and our average GMAT 722. We talk about the average GMAT here, but both the GRE and the GMAT are accepted for this program. We truly don't have a preference. Whichever one best suits your testing skills, we're happy to connect with. So we're looking at that gender split or citizenship. The MBA is a very international and diverse program. You're looking at from all over the country and all over the world that are sitting in your classes, as well as being able to share those perspectives with our MFin and MBA and students, as well as our senior level, executive level students. So a lot to be done in this MBA program in terms of building that network. One of the things that allows you to make this curriculum your own is the flexibility of the Sloan program. So you'll be starting with us in the fall, and you'll be pursuing that core semester, but we have a 1-semester core where we're giving you the tools we think you need to build on a strong MBA experience. So your communication skills, we do have you do a little data and modeling with some business analytics, as well as your ability to talk about organizational processes, accounting, economics. After that, it is your process. 200 plus electives for you to really shape and mold what that MBA experience is going to look like for you, to use our action learning labs, which we will touch on a little bit, to get your hands dirty and really get involved in some projects, work with real life partner companies, and really start to build up what that looks like for you. If you're interested, you can also take up to three classes, graduate level classes, outside of Sloan. That means greater MIT or any of those Harvard classes, to really make this opportunity your own. If, as Diane was talking, you were thinking, oh, I was interested in business analytics, and then you were interested in finance, and now you're thinking an MBA might be right for you, we've allowed you the ability to help to kind of mold and shape what some of those electives might look like by offering certificates and tracks. Certificates are almost as like a college minor. It allows you to maybe focus on some areas and show competence there by choosing electives that are kind of surrounding that general sphere. The tracks are a little bit more involved. So you might say that you're interested in finance and you might choose to focus your electives there. And then the certificate and the track that you're leaving with indicates to, say, an employer that this is knowledge that you have and depth and breadth in this particular area. And so you have your first semester spring, your second semester fall, and then your second semester spring that you get to create with your customizable electives. And then the independent activity period, which is the entire month of January. Unique to MIT, we don't have any traditional classes. And so the world is your oyster in terms of what you can really dive into there. Right.
Great, thank you, Kayan. So lots of information, I know, and we don't want to completely overload you, but I know this, it just was to think about, when we think about action learning, this is a tradition that has been part of MIT for many. In fact, it's been part of MIT, believe it or not, since 1861. The concept or the idea that you take what you're learning in the classroom and you can apply it in a real world situation. And so over the years, as you can see from the, all of these different, we call them labs for all intents and purposes, they're courses, but all these different opportunities to really engage and to really take those learnings and put them into practice. So it's just students, I have to say, this is one of the hallmarks and highlights of their experience. And if you're interested in knowing more about it, again, I encourage you to go to our website. There's lots of information and pages about action learning. There are testimonials from students who have participated in them. One of the things that has really been amazing is, one of the things that's been really amazing is that, the action learning component has also, for many of these, included some travel. And of course, given the coronavirus pandemic, we've had to really eliminate that aspect of it in this past year, or this year rather. So, but what's amazing is that we've still been able to, even in this past year, have over 100 projects, action learning projects that were completed, all done virtually, but still reaching out across the globe to solve some of those problems. So we've really been able to continue to build on this tradition of taking what you learn in the classroom and applying it in practical terms. And this is just some examples, not all inclusive, but for each of the programs that we're talking about this evening, if you look at the business analytics or FinLab or MBA's action learning that we talk about the different company sponsors. Hopefully all of these names are recognizable names to you, and they are indeed company sponsors who in many cases have also been future employers for our graduates. So it's really a great melding and matching of the different interests and ability to be able to support these organizations. And as I mentioned, you know, action learning, when the world changed, so did we. I mentioned over 100 projects were successfully completed by the end of the semester. And there is a website, this ISSUU, which again, very easy to just find through, if you Google action learning at MIT Sloan, you'll be able to learn a lot more about what happens as part of these projects. So let's talk about careers. This is an important aspect because after all, you're making an investment of your time and resources as well. And while you're coming primarily for your academic learnings, there's also an expectation that this will lead to and help you to launch a rewarding career. We have extensive career services. They start early on, regardless of which program you're in. We have career advisors for each program, so dedicated to specific programs. They work with our students both individually and collectively through Career Corps, through boot camps, through workshops, through career fairs, on-campus recruiting, networking with alumni employers. I mean, the list is endless, and as you might expect, it is MIT. And so many employers are very interested in our students. But I think the important thing is that the way we view career resources and what we offer you is an effective toolkit so that you can be able to do, whether it's a summer internship search or full-time opportunities, that we are going to provide you with that toolkit and help you to map out a plan to meet your personal and professional goals. And so when we think about it in terms of the recent results, and again, this is all available. If you go to our website, you can find for each of the programs some very detailed employment reports for the current classes. So I encourage you to take a look at them. But this just gives you some quick statistics on MBAs, some of the industries that have traditionally been top industries, such as consulting, technology, finance, students who have started businesses, salaries, full-time offers, and a sampling of some of the companies where our graduates are working. For business analytics, again, so while you have the capstone and you have a summer internship with your capstone sponsor, you are not obligated in any way to return to that capstone sponsor if they do provide a full-time return offer. So you do have the opportunity or the option to explore other things that you might be interested with other employers. And for Master of Finance students, again, as you might expect, they're going into a variety. When we think of business analytics and we think of finance, in business analytics, those positions as data scientists exist across many different industries and sectors. For Master of Finance, of course, the financial services industry, but in terms of the functions, they are wide and varied. Everything, whether you want to be on the buy side, the sell side, whether you want to be more on the deeper quantitative analysis and trading side, or more traditional iBanking, or if you are looking to perhaps go into financial risk and advisory or regulatory. We have students who do all of those, as well as do data science and finance. So I think it opens up a lot of options for our students.
All right. So if you are interested in the next steps for these programs, we have gone ahead and listed some of the components for the application process, as well as a deadline. So get those on your calendar. For Masters of Finance and Masters of Business Analytics, those are going to be in early January. And the things that we're looking for are relatively straightforward. So we'd like to understand some of that professional experience. These are early career programs, and so we understand that, of course, there isn't 10 years of experience to share, but we'd love to understand what that process has looked like for you. Essay and short answer questions, as well as 3 letters of recommendation. We'd like at least one of those to be from an academic source and the other from a professional source. The third can, of course, be up to you, whoever you think can best speak to your success, your impact, your technical proficiency, your academic preparation to jump into these programs and to thrive. We are more interested in hearing from folks that can speak highly about you, as well as to share anecdotes about some of the successes that you've had, and less so on who specifically is writing that letter. And then your academic transcripts. Of course, we'd like to know that you've been doing well and that you've also prepared to jump into some of these programs. I see a few questions asking about programming knowledge, if that's a prerequisite for some of these programs. We do like to see students that are coming in with knowledge or exposure to some of those areas that are excited about and willing to jump into, use of Python or experience doing something along those lines, as well as our testing requirements. Diane already shared that the GRE is the preferred test for business analytics, but the GMAT and GRE are accepted by our office, as well as the TOEFL and IELTS. You have your options there. However, we have also been living in 2020. We understand what this year has been like, and we want to be flexible. We want to meet students where we are. So we understand that there are large portions of the world where testing is still difficult to access, or that folks might not be in a situation to do, for instance, web-based testing. And so we have adjusted our testing policy. These tests are required for our programs. However, we want to be realistic about where our students are. So just so you understand, this testing is of course a component of the application, and we review all individual components, but we are allowing students for this particular application cycle, so 2020 to 2021, to submit their application without testing. And we will go ahead and review all the materials that you have shared. There will be no negative inferences being made if you choose to submit your application without testing. Additionally, if you have the ability and the capacity, feel free to share other pieces of evidence that are going to show us your academic success. So MicroMasters, core preparation, perhaps you've taken MBA math, any certifications, anything along those lines that you think will help to support your academic preparation and help us feel confident that you'll come to MIT Sloan and thrive. We are happy to see them. So we do still require these tests. We understand that it is a piece of the application, but if it is not possible for you, we absolutely understand, and we are trying to work with you there. I hope that's clear. Happy to answer any follow-up questions. And then we do have a few videos that we require for our application. The MPhil and MBA do have 2 videos. One of them is very similar to the MBA Early video, which is asking you to introduce yourself to your fellow classmates. They of course will not be seeing the video, but pretend it's the first week of class and you're really meeting and greeting everyone. And the second video will appear after all other components are completed, and it is going to be a randomly generated question. We give you a little bit of time to digest, prepare an answer, and then record your response there. We'd like to hear that response and use that to judge your presence as well as any English ability. All right. And then the MBA Early process. We also are requiring a resume. We, however, would like an additional cover letter. This cover letter is about 300 words, and I'm looking to understand more about your impact and less about looking into the crystal ball and telling me about your future. I want you to be thoughtful about the MBA process and what you'd like to gain from it and your preparation leading up to and then during the program, but talk to me about things you've done, successes that you've had, leadership opportunities. And the recommendation letters I'm hoping will be more of the same. I'd also like to see one from an academic realm and then the other from a professional realm, speaking to anecdotes, speaking to your successes, painting a picture of who you are. So be sure to ask professors that are perhaps an internship manager that are going to be able to speak knowledgeably about successes that you've had. Your academic transcripts, we'd like to see from all academic sources. That includes that study abroad semester. We do want to see that. And our testing requirement is of course the same. We don't require the TOEFL or IELTS for the MBA Early, and there is only one video statement. For both of these programs, we do have an interview process that is by invitation only and will be conducted always by a member of our admissions committee. There will be behavioral in nature for our Masters of Finance and Masters of Business Analytics. We'll be taking a little bit more of a technical leaning and to understand your preparation there. So there will be a few additional components, but you should be at ease and be ready to talk about both your academic preparation and some of your experiences from the past. All right, so now I feel like we've given you a lot to chew on. We're going to take a beat. Apparently, folks need a few seconds to have things percolate. And then we are going to touch on some of the questions that you've already asked. While you folks are thinking, I am going to follow up. A few folks are asking about some of those dual degree programs I mentioned earlier. And just to kind of elaborate a little bit more about those. So the LGO program, or Leaders for Global Operations, that is the Masters of Engineering as well as the MBA. You will complete both of those degrees in 2 years. So that does not add any additional time. And that is also true of DUSP. For LGO, we are looking for students that have that STEM background. That is a requirement for that program. And we'd, of course, be building there. Our LGO program does involve an internship and working with partner companies as well, very similar to the MBA and experience. And then the Harvard Kennedy School is a 3-year program where you'll be receiving both of those master's degrees.
Great. So I'm going to take a couple of questions live that I've been, as Can's been going through and giving you a very thorough background on all the application. Let me just mention too that we expect to have an application tips webinar or webinars for different programs. So you are now part of our mailing. Apologies in advance for inundating you with email communications, but they're all really, hopefully you find them helpful. So keep an eye out for any of those application tips webinars. But what I will respond to is a couple of questions that came in around research opportunities. So absolutely, we actually have 2 ways that students can engage in either as research assistants or also teaching assistantships. So we didn't mention those, but they are available to our students. I will tell you that the teaching assistantships, as you might imagine, are quite popular, and there is a formal application process for those, but totally doable, and many of our students take advantage of it. The research assistantships are a little less formal, and in many cases, depending on the program you're in, faculty, you can build a rapport with a particular faculty member, and if that faculty is working on something that they need extra help, they're usually pretty open and amenable to having students participate in some way in helping them with their research. The other thing I will mention as it relates to research is let's not forget about all the centers that are integral to MIT. So for example, and some of them are part of Sloan, but MIT overall, we have the MIT Media Lab. We have MIT's Martin Trust Center for Entrepreneurship. There is the Golub Center for Finance and Policy. There's the Lab for Financial Engineering. There are many ways that students can find opportunities to engage with the community. And this is, I think, an important note to elaborate on a little bit, and I don't want to spend too much time because I know there's a lot of other questions, but when in admissions, when we're looking and reviewing your application and materials, we're taking a look at everything about you. And yes, there are some key areas like your academic strength, your professional experience, and some other more what I would call behavioral competencies that we're going to be looking for. But part of that also includes one of the key things that we talk about in our mission and what we talk about in terms of being part of the MIT ecosystem. We have an expectation that while you're coming to learn, you are also going to participate at a very significant or high level when you come to MIT. And so being able to stretch yourselves academically and intellectually by being in a master's level program is very important. We also want you to be able to take advantage and leverage all of the resources that are available to you, because that is going to become part of your network and going to be so helpful to you as you move forward in your careers. So I can't overemphasize enough that there are many resources for students. And I know some of you asked about, as it relates to that, what other courses you can take outside of MIT Sloan. So absolutely, students do take advantage of not only cross-registration at Harvard's professional schools, whether that's the business school, the law school, or the Kennedy School of Government, but also other parts of MIT. Unless there's a prerequisite that you haven't met, students typically do find opportunities to take a course outside of MIT Sloan.
All right. I'm seeing an early MBA question asking about the limited work experience that students are applying with and how that's viewed in the application process. Well, the MBA early application process requires that you have no work experience. So of course, that is not something that we're judging you on. For the MBA program, we are looking for students that are going to be aligned with our mission, principled leaders looking to make a change, working well in groups, collaboratively thinking, pushing the envelope, innovating. We're looking for the exact same thing from our MBA early students. I'm just looking to see those examples in different places. So instead of a professional setting, or somewhere you've worked for 4 years, I'm looking to understand your club engagement, your classroom etiquette. I'm looking to hear from recommenders that are seeing you in those spaces as a research assistant, maybe a summer during an internship, to tell me about how you've demonstrated leadership or the ability to work with others or to problem solve, which are some of the things that we are consistently looking to see. So you aren't being compared to MIT students. The MBA early application is its own application process, but you will eventually integrate seamlessly with your chosen MBA cohort. And so we want to understand that you are going to be on the exact same playing field when you do decide to join us after your deferral period, once you've gained that work experience. All right, Diane, I'm seeing a few folks that are trying to understand that TOEFL requirement, if they've studied in the US or something along those lines.
Yep. No, you absolutely do not need to be concerned about it for this year. So while they are important components, as Kayan so succinctly put it, they are important components of the overall application and evaluation. That said, we are, understand that in the current environment, it's been challenging for many people to get to test centers for this application cycle. So we will accept your applications without those test scores, and that includes TOEFL and IELTS. However, if you have test scores, and it could be GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, or IELTS they may even be expired, that you believe strongly represent your abilities or capabilities and you want to include in your application, please by all means do that. But our point is that we understand that it's going to be challenging for people depending on what country you live in, whether tests are available online or not available in person or available in person. We understand that, and there is going to be no negative implication or inference if you are not able to do that. You can submit other certifications that you might have that you think will speak a little bit to your skills. So for example, maybe you've taken some online courses. Maybe you are enrolled in a particular course or program that you think will help us to understand your motivation and your abilities. Maybe you've done a CFA, or maybe you've done some other data analytics type certifications. Those are all very credible and certainly something that you can include as part of your application for this year.
And for those folks who maybe still want to submit a test and have access, are students who live in the US exempt from the TOEFL? If they're international students from non-native?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, Kayan.
Of course. Are students who have studied in the US but are from non-native English-speaking countries exempt from the TOEFL?
Yeah, the TOEFL or IELTS tests, language tests, are not required, period, for this admission cycle. If you're applying in another year, future, beyond the 2021 cycle, that's a different situation. But again, if you've already taken those tests and maybe they're 3 years old instead of valid tests 2 years prior, you can certainly submit them if you believe that it's something that you will add to the strength of your application. Good questions, though.
All right. Some folks are asking about MIT's culture, the current students, the alumni, and kind of opportunities to interact with MIT Nation. So Absolutely. You will have MIT alumni that are supporting our students in every facet of the process, that are connecting with prospective students who are just looking to understand Sloan's culture, that might be a panelist that might be willing to answer a LinkedIn message, that are happy to share in that way. One of the things that Diane touched on is MIT's response to COVID. I think one of the greatest things that highlights our alumni's commitment to the institution was the call to action, talking about COVID and students looking for internship opportunities, full-time opportunities, and having that process disrupted by, of course, COVID-19. And our alumni stepped up, offered opportunities where they could, mentored, supported, and our students were really able to kind of weather that storm. And so wherever our students are called on to help, you will always get this concept of Sloanies helping Sloanies. It's built into our culture when you're on campus, our small, cohesive unit that we have here, that are fully engaged, that are the kind of people who want to do good, who want to commit to their institution, to the world, who are, of course, brilliant, but they want to use their brilliance for good. And so you're going to end up with that alumni community that is still looking to help, still looking to donate and support financially, with their time, professionally as mentors. There's no shortage of opportunities for our students to interact with alumni.
And that's so true. Again, just to tag on to what Kian has been describing, we saw that clearly when it came to our alumni helping students, particularly as it related to careers or internships, and they were working at employers and helping them to seek out or find opportunities that they might not have known about due to the pandemic. So, and I will also mention, because I know in terms of the culture, the faculty, I have to say in my experience, the faculty are extremely approachable. They are very interested in what students are doing. Remember, this is not university or undergraduate. This is a master's level program. And so for the most part, the classes are smaller, and there's an ability to be able to have those kinds of more personalized interactions. While our classes are definitely, some are traditional, lectures with problem sets, quite a number of them are also more case studies and project driven. And as a result, again, you have this ability to not only interact, whether it's the faculty, their TAs, as well as students who are from programs that you may not be in. So you could be on a project team with a student who's a PhD, who's a Sloan Fellows MBA, who's an undergrad even. So those are the kinds of opportunities that really, it's hard to articulate that in a slide, because you don't get that full experience of what it's like to really be with students from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. And I think that lends itself to a culture that is quite exciting and appealing to a lot of people. So I want to make sure I'm cognizant of the time. I think we can take a few more questions. Let's see, I'm just taking a look to see what else we have here. I know someone asked about the MIT MicroMasters in Statistics and Data Science. So those do not necessarily, are not pathways right now to the Masters in Business Analytics. We just launched this month the MicroMasters in Finance, which is a pathway to the Master of Finance. However, for 2021, you will be able to apply 3 of the MicroMaster credits towards the Master of Finance program, but that does not make you eligible for 2021 to waive the summer term in the Master of Finance program. So that would have to wait until you've completed the full credential MicroMasters, which would be in 2022. But you can take the MicroMasters in Finance, have 3 of those credits from this year apply towards the Master of Finance program in 2021.
So these are all early career programs that we've talked about and have been designed as such. For instance, our executive level offerings or Sloan Fellows are designed for people who have had 10 plus years of experience. So if you've had more experience than 0 to 2 years, you might find that the program isn't exactly suited to where you are professionally, and you might better be served exploring, for instance, the MBA with a business analytics certificate or a finance track. If some of the things that we're talking about sound appealing, that might be a better way for you to kind of channel some of the experience you've had and continue to grow professionally. To answer questions about folks that are asking about age and experience when it comes to these programs.
And Can, I see a question about MBA Early. What are some of the, what's the plan? What can they expect if they're admitted to MBA Early admission now and over the next 2 to 5 years?
Absolutely, and that's a good question. So one of the things that we are looking to do during that 2 to 5 is to give you space, but also give you support as you start to grow professionally. That means connecting you with alumni where appropriate. That means connecting you with your network. We want you to connect with your peers, start to build, use them as a topic-based brainstorming session. There could be a time in the future, if we can imagine, where you can meet for coffee and get to know each other and to really connect in those ways. And so during that 2 to 5 year deferral period, we're looking to give you resources. One of the benefits of 2020 is that we're starting to really develop a robust repository of recorded events and virtual resources that we can always make available for our students, as well as get an alumni to connect for an hour as opposed to flying across the country to perhaps be in an in-person event. And so during that deferral period, we are, yes, of course, looking to connect you with MIT Nation, as well as some of those resources that we have on campus, and the admissions office is always here for you.
Great, thank you. I also see a question to a different topic having to do with having an advanced degree or a master's degree in a discipline that is somewhat related, if not very similar, to either business analytics or finance. So the answer to that really is that certainly you can apply, but what you're going to want to do is explain in your application what are some of the learnings that perhaps you did not get from the master's you've already acquired and that you expect to get from the degree at MIT Sloan. So I think that's the important distinction is what is your expectation? What is it about the program that we are offering that will differentiate or provide you with additional learnings and skills that you didn't get from a previous one? But great question, thank you.
Just scrolling through here. I'm seeing a lot of questions about financial aid. I'm seeing a lot of folks that are asking, of course, some of the questions about finances. So for the MBA Early process, we do not offer a financial aid letter with your MBA Early acceptance. You're going to receive information about fellowship the year you matriculate into your MBA cohort. And so we, of course, are reviewing all of our MBA students and MBA Early students at that time on a merit-based system, and then offering fellowship accordingly. And fit an MBA in.
Yep, and just to reiterate that, so for business analytics, also keep in mind that the capstone is actually an offset in terms of tuition. There is a significant amount of funding that is provided to students as part of the capstone project or capstone itself. For the Master of Finance, anyone who is admitted to the program is automatically considered or eligible and considered for a merit-based fellowship. And they're notified at the time that you're admitted whether you've been awarded that fellowship. I can tell you that the fellowships are not intended to necessarily cover the full cost of tuition. However, they are very helpful in offsetting it. In addition, students typically across programs will bundle, if you will, packaging of financing to help support their interest in pursuing an advanced degree. We have a student funding group that works with our students to provide some resources in terms of whether there's loans available. We have scholarships that are listed on our website that you apply to separately, and many of our students seek out scholarships on their own, particularly if they're coming internationally from their home countries. They might learn of additional scholarships that are available. I have to say anecdotally that I've yet to have any student come back to me and say it was a waste of my money and resources to take one of the programs, but again, it's obviously a personal decision and a commitment, but we do help our students as much as possible in sort of putting it all together. So I think at this point, unless Kayon, you see any other questions that we may have missed.
There was one that I think is easy that's asking about reviewing applications on a rolling basis. We don't do that for any of our programs. So take all the time you need up until the deadline, send us a strong, complete application, and we will start reviewing after the deadline has passed.
Absolutely. I can only add another endorsement to that advice, totally. So I think at this point, unfortunately, we have run out of time. I've put up our, for each of the programs, our email addresses. They're on the website as well. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We really make every effort to respond within 24 hours. So don't hesitate with your questions. Keep an eye out on our website as well as any email for future events. And we hope that this was helpful. Thank you to my colleagues for all the work that they're doing. And we hope everyone stays safe and that we really look forward to seeing your applications. So thank you again.
Enjoy your night, guys.